on motion picture The Fox and the Hound is the first film in the 1980s decade from the Walt Disney Studios. This is the very last film that they released before they hit rock bottom, and today I'm going to be reviewing it. This is actually a film that you guys voted on me reviewing from my poll in the options. And The Fox and the Hound to me is actually one of my favorite Disney films. I think it's a really special one. I, in fact, think that it's one of the last better pictures that had this realism to it back then. This film invokes the same kind of feeling that you get from Bambi, where it's talking about real-life animals, and it's in a realistic setting, but at the same time, it's got that Disney charm. And so today, I'm going to be reviewing the film, giving my thoughts on it, talking about a little bit of production notes, very briefly. It's been well documented by others who are better at that than I am, but I did want to just talk about the motion picture, because I do enjoy this film, and the issues that I have with this film are very minute, but they're because the film is a Disney film. I'll explain that in a bit, but let's get started. The Fox and the Hound tells the story of two unlikely friends, a fox named Todd and a hunting dog named Copper, and how when they are little, they are friends on this farmyard. Fox is a little pup that is found by Widow Tweed, and Copper is a hunting dog. So, I actually really like this film, I'm going to say. I actually appreciate how realistic this film is. This is a more grounded and nature-esque kind of film, but I do appreciate that they did go ahead and try to make this feel different. This isn't some big old musical. This isn't some big fantastical fairy tale. This is just a film about two little animals that meet on a farm, and whether or not their instincts can keep them as friends when they grow up. I do have to say that this film is, in fact, the last film to have any animation by the Nine Old Men, as this was the final film that they worked on, including Don Bluth and his team, who left the film in the middle of production, causing a delay from December of 1980 to summer of 1981. So, The Fox and the Hound is a Disney film that I've always really enjoyed. It's one that I've owned in my collection pretty much my whole life, and I think it's just such a sweet story. It's simplistic, it's realistic, and it's fun to watch, and it's charming. It's, like I said, just about this fox and this hunting dog who are unlikely friends, and whether or not they can keep being friends, or will normality and instincts get the better of them. But I guess the best way to review this film is to just talk about some of my favorite parts, because I have done this video probably like 5 times, at least this section. So I think the best part, or the best way to do it, is to just literally go through the film piece by piece, talk about main plot points, and just how I enjoy that the film does them, or how I don't like them. So we're going to start with the opening of the film, which I do have to say is very ominous, and I like that. I like that you don't know what kind of film you're getting into. It has an eerie feeling to it. But then, they do this. That they have right here is my favorite piece of music in the entire film. I love the repetition of the instrument, how they keep repeating the same kind of note, they keep doing the same kind of thing. You get the rhythm of it. It's a very intense scene, but they still have this very simplistic music in a way. It isn't a huge choir, it isn't anything like that. It's just, I don't even know what instrument they use, but I love this music right here. It's just so intense, but it's also just very fascinating. I want to know more about it. How did they compose this? I think the inevitable climax of this opening scene is very dark. It's going back to the likes of Bambi, but it isn't as dark. Though I think it's okay, because the scene still does a good job at actually setting up what kind of film we are getting. This is a darker Disney film, and they literally kill a protagonist within the first 5 minutes. They literally kill the mother fox, who was holding Todd in her mouth for safety to protect him, after she drops him off and is planning to come back for him or whatever. She gets shot, and it's extremely dark, and it's extremely messed up, but it does a good job at setting up what this film is about. This film is about real life and animals. This film is about the tragedy that animals do cause, and it does set up, in fact, the unlikely friendship, because the fox is inevitably found by the hunting dog. And in the story, it's about a fox and a hunting dog becoming friends when they're kids. And I just think that they set the film up like this. It kind of shows you that they are willing to take risks, and I do really appreciate that. In terms of all the stuff here, I think Big Mama meeting Todd is very sweet. It's very innocent. It's just like, very cute, very Disney-esque, but I do like it. Fast forwarding a bit, we have the first scene of Copper and Todd meeting, which is fine. I think it's a good scene. It's a cute little scene of them as friends and how they first met, and obviously we do have a song here, but I like that this isn't a musical at the same time. This isn't a musical film. They don't break out into song in order to just sing whatever they want or in order to just sing their emotions, but instead it's by the narrator, basically. Big Mama basically sings this song and another one, and there's a couple other songs in here, but they're very much done by the outsiders of the picture. They're very much done by the spectators. And I just think that makes it, feel even more realistic that it isn't a musical. This isn't a happy Disney film. This isn't about a princess. This is just about animals and their friendship as little ones. What else is in here? We have, let's see. Oh, I think the first scene when Todd sees Copper at the hill when Copper gets back from hunting, I think the exchange between Todd and Copper is very dark, in a way. Because Todd literally asks him, "We're still friends, aren't we?" And Copper's just way of denying it. He isn't saying no, but he isn't saying yes. He's almost playing it as if he'd want to still be friends, because he clearly does still care about Todd, but it isn't going to be like it was. And as someone who's actually experienced growing up and friends growing distant, this kind of hits, thinking about it. Like, this film kind of hits in a way that it is really about real life and how we do grow up from our friendships. Not that we go and try to kill each other, and that's why we, shouldn't be friends, like we're unlikely friends. No, it isn't about that. It is a film just about friendship, but it's about friendship being tested. And I think the first scene where we really get to see Copper hunting Todd is intense, but I think what happens from Copper deciding to give him a second chance, and from this scene here, is I think where the film definitely steps into a darker territory. And in fact, we're going to get into one of the scenes that actually got quite a bit of pushback from the Disney animators. The scene where Todd and Chief face off. Now, from what I've heard in different videos talking about Disney's animated films, originally there was a discussion on whether or not to kill Chief. The animators, one side of them thought they should kill off Chief because it gives more of a point to why Copper is so vengeful. The other animators didn't believe this because they thought that it would be too much for a Disney film. They never had killed off a protagonist before. I'm going to be honest that I kind of do agree that it might have been a better idea, story-wise, to kill off Chief. But I understand why they didn't do it, and I don't judge the animators for it. I don't judge the writers. Because if this had been a film done by a different studio, it would have been a lot darker. But for Disney's adaptation, I definitely don't think that they had to include another character death, especially one that is or rather on the screen. I don't think it was needed for being a Disney film. I will say that much. And I think after this scene is also where the film just keeps going in a darker direction. I mean, you literally have Amos Slade banging on Widow Tweed's door, begging for Todd to come out. He wants to kill him. He wants to kill Todd because he hurt Chief. Even if accidentally, this is just adding on to his rage. And I think the inevitable conclusion that Widow Tweed makes is that if she wants Todd to survive, he can't live on the farm anymore. Because Amos Slade will inevitably shoot Todd, as he's claimed to doing multiple times. And so what happens next is a really touching scene of Widow Tweed just leaving Todd in the game preserve. And there's no lines of dialogue between the two characters, really. You could argue that Widow Tweed does speak to Todd, but she isn't even moving her lips. It's more of thoughts that she's having. And I think even more impactful than that is just the eyes, which is part of visual storytelling. Just seeing the eyes of the character looking at one another. Seeing the two characters realizing that things aren't how they are. And I think Todd, just on this car ride, seeing his eyes just slowly dissipate in the excitement of getting to go on a trip with his owner, it's just really moving. I also gotta say that the scene with Amos Slade and Copper literally testing out animal traps is intense. I can't believe they actually put this in a Disney film back then, because this is basically them saying they are going to try and kill the main character. They are going to try and kill the animal that they've been hunting this whole time. And Copper's okay with this. And in fact, going on a little bit, you see Todd meet Vixie, and they're happy together. They're prancing through the forest. Very just fun and innocent, They enjoy the forest, and they're getting to see all the great sights. And then the film goes back into a darker tone. When Todd enters through the covering, and he almost trips off all the traps, or he does in fact, but he escapes in the nick of time. And then the fact that Amos Slade and Copper literally light one side of the log on fire. Just to back up a bit, the fact that they're even in the game preserve shows the insanity of Amos Slade and Copper. It shows that they are willing to literally go against the legal law in order to get their objective. And they aren't villains in a way. They aren't villains, in a sense. Because what they're doing is completely normal. Hunters hunt foxes all the time. Or bears, or fish, or whatever. They hunt animals all the time. So this isn't even a villain thing. But the slow insanity that Amos Slade goes through just trying to kill Todd, how he literally almost kills himself in the process by getting a bear upset because he's just recklessly running around, not being careful about his surroundings. And then the impending fight scene where Copper is face to face with the bear, and then Todd inevitably comes and saves the day. It just shows that maybe Copper is no longer going to be friends with Todd. Maybe he is going to stay his enemy. But Todd doesn't care. Because even if Copper threatens to kill him, he's still going to protect his best friend. And I think it's just so great how they edit it, that they don't show you that Todd is coming back, immediately. You just hear the whimpers, and you just see him looking back, and he's thinking, should I go save him? Should I not? Should I protect myself and Vixie? And then just the scene where he comes in, it's not the Avengers Endgame in terms of, how big it is, but it is in a way. It's like the scene where the character comes back, and he does the right thing. And I just love that you still don't know the certainty of the situation. Because after this, you have Todd fall down a waterfall with a bear. The bear dies. Todd is slowly walking out of the water, Or rather, Copper finds him there. And for a second, you're like, oh, Copper's protecting him. And then Amos Slade shows up. And the scene where Copper just simply whimpers and nudges Amos Slade to not pull the trigger for their friends, or rather, they're both friends, Copper and Todd, it's just really emotional in a way. But at the end of the day, this is the conclusion that Todd was going for, or that I think is the best they're going to get. They aren't going to be friends like they used to be. As real friends do, they grow up and they move on, but they still care about each other. They still have admiration for one another. I myself am this way. I have friends that I've grown up from being friends with, but I still do appreciate them as people. You know, when I do get to talk to them, it's great, and I love hanging out with them on occasion. But it isn't the same as it used to be. And it does hurt, but I think it makes those times even more special.